Okay, hello and welcome to another Tech PD online. Hopefully you guys had a great week. I had a lot of questions come in this week, which we will address. We'll go through as much as we can. As I mentioned, we have a couple of guests with us today. We have a couple of students that are going to show us some of the cool new features in Google Meet. So we're going to start with that this morning, or this afternoon, I should say. So Google Meet has a new beta features. Some of you have heard about these or seen these. We have now pushed it for all staff. The high school staff all has this available. The middle school staff, it's just been turned on. I'll be turning it on for the elementary staff. How you know if you have the new features or not? Let me do a screen share here. So when you're in your Google Meet, right here, the easiest way, in the upper right, you'll notice there's this little symbol here that looks kind of like a puzzle piece. And if I click on that, that will show me some of the new features to do polls and a Q&A, as well as breakout rooms. And so we're going to revisit these today. I know we talked about them last week. We covered them a little bit, but there's more people now that have had them. Understand that this is still technically a beta situation. And what beta means with technology is that they're still working out the bugs. So if we turn on the beta Google Meet version for you, and you find that it keeps on crashing and you're having real serious problems with it, certainly let us know. But also, we can go ahead and we can turn it off again for you for a little while. All these features should be pushed out to everybody in the next couple of weeks. So even if you don't want it quite yet, I think in about 2 more weeks, everybody will have it across the board. But we'll go through some of these settings, what those settings mean, what those things will do for you. So like I said, the easiest way to know if you have the new version or the beta version right now, in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see that little puzzle piece. You'll also notice down here in the lower left, there's a little blue, it looks kind of like a shield with a lock on it. So that is what's called host control. So you as the teacher, you're the host for this video. Some of the things that this will do, quick access, right? So you can turn this off. And what that means is when turned off, everyone who isn't invited must ask to join. So we use Google Classroom as our kind of interface to be able to get students in and out of our Google Meets, as our video conferencing. So no big deal. That's kind of our way to kind of add people or not. If I wanted to open this Google Meet right now that we're in to anybody, period, anybody in the world, if I turn that on or off, that means that when they join, they have to be admitted. I, as the host, say, yes, I allow them in, or no, I don't. It's kind of like a waiting room. You may have heard of waiting room. Sometimes they use that in Zoom or some of the other tools out there. It's kind of the same idea. Other things you have under host controls right here, can you share their screen? So are you able to share a screen, or do you allow some of the other members that are people that are in this right here to be allowed to share the screen right here? And can they send chat messages? I think I mentioned this before, but every once in a while you'll see me kind of look over here to my side. I do have another computer here with the chat going. Just for our case, it just makes it easier so I can kind of see, make sure if somebody has a question. And also, in a few minutes, I'm going to introduce a moderator that we'll have for us to use today as well, one of the students. Here's all the host settings right here. So these things that I just shared. You'll also see in video some other choices. I need to switch cameras and audio. One thing that's kind of cool that I would try, it's worth testing out here, is noise cancellation. Filters out sound that isn't speech. Now in this room right here, I'm the only one in here, so it's probably fine. But if you do have some kind of background noises, it does try to kind of mimic that and just speech come through. All right, some of the other features that are new, I'm going to go down here in the lower right-hand corner to those 3 dots in my Google Meet. Okay, we have the recording we had before. We have a whiteboard, or it's called a Jamboard. Now, we can create one of those before. I can click on that right here and open it. The difference is now it will automatically be shared with everybody who's in this Google Meet right now. So if I click Start a New Whiteboard, here it is. I can have everybody just view it, or I can change that right here to everybody to edit it. So if I change it to edit it, that means everybody who's in this Google Meet right now, all 34 people, will be able to go on and write on it and use it. So again, depending on what your purpose is, this might be a nice way for students to have just a nice whiteboard to work from. The way they'll find this, if they're in your Google Meet, is in the chat. You'll notice that it automatically puts a link over here. I shared a Jamboard file for this meeting. So if I pull that back up, I can see that some people are in here. Again, we talked about what Jamboard before. I think of it as literally as a whiteboard tool. And the reason why I think that's worth mentioning is on your whiteboard in your classroom, if you write something on it, you know that a student could walk up behind you if they're in the room with you or whatever, could erase parts of it, or they could erase each other's. It's very ephemeral, right? It's not quite as sticky as something like a Google Doc, where even if somebody deletes something, you can see what they deleted and pull that back up again. But there are use cases for this. Another kind of cool thing that last week Ellen Page shared with us, and she actually got it from another video, but she brought this up, is finding these Jamboards in your Google Drive. So they're not built in specifically, but apparently, and again, this is from Ellen, so I appreciate that, she shared with us here. So if I go to my Google Drive, and if I'm looking for Jamboards, I want to find them and be able to pull them up, you can go to the search, and if you do type Jamboard, the data jam. There they are. So if I do type :jam, these actually will search within your Google Drive for your other Jamboards. Okay, and I'll just throw that right in the chat so you have that if you want to reference that. So if you do need to find one later on, you could do it that way. Of course, the other way to do it is if you just go to jamboard.google.com. This will load all the ones that you've already created right in here. Here's the one that we're working on right now. I haven't named it yet, so it's kind of crazy name here. Here's one from last week and so forth. And I'll throw that in the chat as well. All right, some of the other cool features that are relatively new here. Let me close this. Those three dots in the lower right-hand corner. So we talked about the whiteboard here, changing layout, which we've done so far, but there are new abilities here to tile it, and we can actually tile it up to 49 people. So this one right now, we actually have 45 people. So here we all look like, I can see everybody at once, which is nice. We haven't been able to do that before, which is kind of cool. Let me switch it back to Spotlight. Put me back on here. You may wonder why I'm keep putting myself on here, and the reason why is we are recording this, and all these videos after we're done each week will be recorded and on that same link, the RSU 19 support page, the one I shared with you earlier, they'll all be on there. So if you miss something or if you want to share it with somebody who's not here, we'll be able to do that. So that's why I keep it up front. The other things, let's keep going through it here. Oh, Nate got it, excellent. Three dots here. Turn off background blur. Now, I purposely started with this today. Some of you might wonder, why does my background look so blurry here? This is a feature that doesn't work on Chromebooks. And you might be like, oh, why would you share this? Just so you know that it's available on PCs or Macs. The reason why, basically, is that it's not, Chromebooks, the graphics power just aren't quite as good enough as they need to be to do this kind of effect. So it's just kind of it's a cool effect. It's great, but it's not, certainly a killer feature by any stretch. Other things in here, that's probably it for the new stuff. I think in the settings, yeah, it's all the new stuff. All right. Also in the upper right-hand corner right here, that puzzle piece, these are the polls and the Q&A. And here are the breakout rooms. Now, we talked a little bit about this last week. I'm going to share it again. If I click on breakout rooms, I can choose how many rooms I want to. Think of this right now. The thing we're in is the main room, but I want to share this with, I'm going to split this up into, let's say, 5 rooms. Okay? Here are my different users. You guys right now are in different rooms, breakout 1, 2, 3, and so forth. I can move people. So if I want somebody to be in a different room, I can just drag them around, put them in different rooms. I can shuffle the order if I need to. When I click create, it will put you all into your own little sub Meet, Google Meet. A couple things to note about this. Right now, we're recording this one right now. It does not record everybody's sub-Google breakout room. It doesn't record each one of them separately. So that's something to know. You as the teacher, you can join any of those and come back to the main room again and go into another one. So you can kind of pop around and jump into any of those. If you want a student to record that breakout room, I'm going to show you with one of our students right now in a few minutes how to do that. Okay, so it's using another tool, but it will work to record that piece. These are older kids, so that might be a factor as well, but you'll be able to record that if you need to. It also does keep track if there's chat. It does keep that in the save at the end. It shows me a Google Doc that has all the questions, all the polls, and all the text that's typed in a chat. So if that's an issue as well. All right, and then polls, as we talked about before, we did this last week. Just like it sounds like, if I want to throw up there a question, I could ask a couple different versions, like what's your favorite ice cream, and I could put 3 or 4 options on here. You would all see it. You could click vote, and we could share the results, or I could keep them. It's worth noting, I also will receive at the end of this, because I recorded it, a Google spreadsheet that has those results in it as well. So if I want to, go back later and see what the students said, I could put that in there. Questions we found, our Q&A is a little bit more like if you had a bunch of people and people wanted to add what's their most pressing question. Now you could use it as in the chat room, right? So I can go in the chat right here, and somebody could just type a question, right? And I could answer it right directly. The purpose of the Q&A here is, let's say a bunch of people put questions in, and you can vote up. You can actually give it a thumbs up. So whichever one has the most, you can say, oh, that's the most pertinent question right now, because the most people are voting that one up versus a different question. So it's a little bit different tool than the chat room. All right. So with that, I'm going to pause my presentation here. Are there any questions in the chat? If you want to throw them in for me right now, I can pause and make sure I get those answered. So the question, if there's more than one teacher in a meet, can they both all switch between breakout rooms? Great question. No. The host, the one that actually created it initially, they're the one that can jump from room to room. If somebody else joins, they're not the host. There's only one host per meet. So the other people can join as a student, like the teacher or the host could put them in different breakout rooms, but they're not going to be able to kind of go back and forth between them. Good question. So Nate asks, is this still beta, or do all Google Classroom Meets have these features? It is beta. We used it for I've been using it for about 2 weeks. I think everybody else started last week. I haven't had many problems with it. It hasn't crashed very much. So we actually pushed it out to all staff. So high school staff, middle school staff. I'm going to push it out to elementary school staff, like either today or tomorrow, and so forth. If it's problematic for anybody, if you hear of anybody being like, every time I start my Google Meet, it just crashes, let us know. We'll remove you from the beta, which will go back to kind of the original version. But the purpose of this right now is, I think it's fully baked enough that we can start kicking the tires and playing with it. We haven't pushed it out to students yet. Now, students can receive the results of this like you have here, but we haven't pushed this out to students yet until, we're probably not going to do that until it is fully baked. It's one thing to have teachers, kind of trying it out and playing with it. It's another thing to have all 1,000 students immediately join. So, and that should be coming within a week or maybe 2, where it's not beta anymore. It's just a full version. All right, great questions. So with that, I'm going to introduce, we've got a couple of visitors, as I mentioned, a couple of students today. Owen, if you want to unmute and turn your video on, and Bree, let me to change my layout. All right, so we've got Bree and Owen. So we have a couple students that are going to show you how to use the tool WeVideo to do screen capture. Now, many of us have used Screencastify, which is great, but there's another tool which is called WeVideo. Some of you have used that, some of you haven't. Just so you understand what WeVideo, how it's going to work, is we do not buy licenses for every user in the district. Yes, we bought a handful of them, full versions. As people need them, we will buy more. But we didn't want to buy 2,000 licenses and find out that only half the people will need it. So what we're going to do is, as people are asking, requesting WeVideo licenses, we'll get them to you. Same thing with students. The free version is up to 5 minutes. The full version is basically unlimited. Technically no, but basically unlimited. So with that, I'm going to have Owen take over and introduce himself, and then Bree will take over from there.
All right, welcome everyone. I'm Owen. Welcome to Tech PD. Today we're going to show you how to use WeVideo Screencastify. I'm going to hand it over to Bree now, and she can present it.
Okay, so today I'm going to show you guys how to make a screen recording on WeVideo. So I'm going to present my screen. And then first we're going to open up the WeVideo. Okay, so first, we're going to go to recording up here. So there's 3 different options. First, webcam. This is going to show you and just you. And then the screen, this is going to show your screen. There's still going to be audio, but you're not going to see you. And then this is going to be both. So we're going to click on this one. Then you're going to present your entire screen. It'll say 3, 2, 1, and then the recording will start. And so you'll do whatever you need to do. Then you're going to come down here and you're going to click stop. This will stop the recording. And then you have your preview, so you're going to click save. And then you have your video. You have your video here, and you can edit it and do whatever you need to do. And then once that's done, you're going to click finish up here in the top right. And then you name it whatever you want to name it and click set. And then if you want it to be done really fast, then you click SD. But if you want it to be the best quality, this one takes a little longer, but it's definitely a lot better quality. So you click HD, and then you click this button down here, which will import it or export it into your drive. And then you click export, and then it'll be exported into your drive.
Excellent. Thank you, Bree. That's fantastic. So good job. So a couple things with that. One is if you notice WeVideo, because it's web-based, it does take a while, right? Because if you have a really long video, it's using the internet speed to be able to edit things and move things around and whatever. So if you have a half an hour long video, it's going to take a while for it to load and to manipulate. Bree did a good job having multiple pieces to kind of show you how that works. That recording, when you're all done, goes directly to your Google Drive. It can be shared like everything else. You can share with your class. You can publish it, whatever you need to do with your Google Drive as normal. All right. Yes, thank you, Bree. Excellent job. All right. So a couple other things. So Isaac or Mr. Walton had a great point about as far as the breakout rooms for Google Meet is if you're presenting your screen and you split students up into different rooms, they'll lose your screen, meaning they won't be able to see it while they're in the different, sub rooms or whatever you call it, breakout rooms. If you go into one of those breakout rooms, you'll be able to see it, but they will lose that. Another question, Ms. Monk asked, can you edit in the middle of a video or only at the ends? And Brianna Townsend answered both. Yes, exactly. That's right. So WeVideo is more fully featured than Screencastify as far as editing goes. But because of that, it's a little bit more complex. So I definitely recommend playing around with it and checking it out. One other thing I wanted to share today, people asked about, has been a screen share here. A couple of teachers have been asking about Google Drive. And this is just kind of some basic stuff, but just kind of if you haven't played with Google Drive for a little while or you're used to using Classroom as your interface now, just kind of some things you may or may not know about it. So one, Google Drive basically acts as your online thumb drive, right? Your storage. One thing that we're used to doing, especially if you have traditional computing where you have like a desktop, you have icons, all that kind of stuff, Google Drive can be a real mess, right? It can get really easy to be a mess and be all over the place. So it's really difficult. I won't say it's impossible, but very difficult to organize it all the time. Google's philosophy with this, right or wrong, is that they feel that you're not going to go, organize everything all the time. You're just going to search for it. Now, we're used to organizing things, right, in folders and that kind of stuff, so you can still do that a little bit. But if that's an issue for you, what I recommend doing is over on the left side here. Here are my different choices for priority, my drive, shared drives, shared with me, recent, starred, etc. If you click on the starred, you can make this list right here be exactly what you want it to be. It can be as full or as empty as you want. All this is anything, if it's a folder or a document or a spreadsheet, whatever it is, I'm just going to right click on here. See where it says remove from starred, or I can click add to starred if it's not in there. All that does is it puts it in this little subfolder. So if I really wanted to organize my Google Drive, it's a little mess, I'll just remove this one to show you what happens. So now it's not in there. But if I want to have something else, if I want to go add this one to that folder, I'm just going to right click on it, add to starred. It doesn't change the item at all. It just puts a little star beside it, and now will appear in here, and I can remove it anytime I want to. So this is kind of what I bookmark my Google Drive. This is the folder or the area. It's technically called the collection that I start with. A couple other things about Google Drive that's cool. New, okay, so we have our typical stuff, right? If I have our Google Docs, Sheets, Slides. More, if I scroll down here to even more, connect more apps. So I put my cursor over here, more, connect more apps. These are all kinds of like third-party programs, like things that are not a Google Doc, a Google Slide, or a Google spreadsheet that can add functionality to what you're offering. So here's a couple on here. We've talked about Pear Deck before. Maybe I'll do an entire topic on Pear Deck at some point. It's a super handy add-on that allows you to add interactivity with students on slides. Cami we've talked quite a bit about. That's a PDF markup editor. So again, it's another one. So these are all kind of third-party programs. The benefit of connecting them here, okay, the reason why you connect them is that if you have that file, let's say somebody sent you a PDF and it was in your Google Drive, and you double-click on it, what program is going to open? And so these will give you extra programs that will do things. Another couple good ones here, again, if this is something you're interested in, SketchUp is for 3D modeling. Okay, so there's the SketchUp for schools. It's free if you want to like pull up 3D models and have kids interact with them. And then finally, Lucidchart, which is a really handy one for diagramming. So if you're doing like mind mapping with students or that kind of thing, you can attach Lucidchart. Again, it's free for education. So if it does ask you to pay for it, just let me know because it just needs to be turned on for the education version. But this is another cool tool that will connect to your Google Drive. Let's see, that's probably good for now. We're talking about doing Google Drive basics. I mean, we can do, I don't know, we can go even more basic than that if we need to, but maybe we'll do one on each of these going forward, different topics as people email in questions. I did want to say, do students have Lucidchart? Yes, they should have that one. So I have turned that on for the district. If you have an issue, if anybody's like either doesn't have it or can't find it or whatever, just let me know. The cool thing about Lucidchart, let me just do a new Google Doc here. And this is where it can get really confusing because you can have certain programs like Lucidchart, for example. So that's one program. It is an app. It is an extension. It is an add-on. It's all these different things. And so it kind of appears everywhere. The reason why they do that is because basically they want to be wherever you are. So if you're in a browser, you can get to it. So for example, in my Google Docs, right here, I can click add-ons, and Lucidchart is one of the choices. And so if you don't have this, you can go down to get add-ons and pull it up. Here's insert a diagram. So if you have a Lucidchart diagram you've used before, you've created, once it loads, there we go. These are ones we've created before. I may have to sign in. I'm not sure. It's been a little while since oh, here we go. My diagrams. Yep. So this is one that students did before. Yeah, it's still loading here. It'll take a little bit. But what I'm getting at is they can, once you've connected that app, they can kind of access it anywhere. So a couple of years ago, maybe last year, year before, we were actually diagramming possible mobile apps like on phones. And so they gave you a template that you could use. You could add buttons and all kinds of cool stuff in here. So that's where that comes from. But anyway, you get the idea how that can work. You can connect these things all together. The last thing I wanted to share today, if there aren't any more questions for sure, but I'm going to show this right in the chat. So coming up in a few weeks, October 20th and the 21st, it's a Tuesday and Wednesday, I believe, there's the ACTON Conference. Now, typically this is held in Augusta. It's a physical conference where everybody goes to it and goes to the Augusta Civic Center, and it's very, a techie one, technology integration type stuff. However, this year, they're going to do it totally virtual, and the cost is only the cost of a membership. And I've talked to the administration, and they're willing to pay for memberships if you are interested in going. So if you're interested in going to this conference virtually, you don't have to go anywhere physically. It's going to be held after school. So it's like, I believe, from 4 to 6 or 4 to 7, something like that, the different sessions. But if for the $20, you get to be a membership for the year, and then you can go to any of these. They have a little link here somewhere on here, right here, to the different sessions. So here's the October 20th program. There's all kinds of different topics on here. You can go through and find ones you think are worthwhile. Again, it's all virtual, so you're doing all through your laptop. But here's the kicker that makes it even sweeter, I think. As good as that is, kind of go and check this stuff out and find something you think that's worthwhile and take your time to do that. If you become an active member, again, for $20, which the district's willing to pay for, then you can, within 1 year, now you have to be an active member for up to 6 months. So after 6 months from now, for 1 year from that point, you get, as a member, up to $400 worth of PD funds that you can use at another PD event. So if there's another event beyond 6 months from now that you want to attend, either virtually or physically, it's one form you send in to basically prove that it's a real good PD event. But by doing that, it's paid for. Acton actually covers it. So for me, it's a no-brainer. It's a $20 investment that technically you don't even have to pay for, and you get $400 worth of PD money from it. You might ask how they can do this every year. Honestly, every year, at the end of the year, they're left over with PD money that was not taken advantage of, was not spent, because not enough people asked for it. So again, I'm just pushing this out there. I think this is a great event. I usually go. Typically, we bring students to present. This year, of course, it's all virtual, so we're not doing that. But definitely check it out. I threw that in the chat, so it's something that you are interested in. Does the PD have to be only tech related? What happens is you provide, there's a form and just says what event you want to go to or visit virtually, whatever, and they'll either approve it or not. Generally speaking, it's tech related type stuff, but not always. So it would depend on them. It depends on their committee. So if you sent them one, they would either approve it or not. It'd be up to them. The brochure said 2:30 to 8. There you go. Okay, I didn't realize it went that late. Yeah, so 2:30 to 8. And again, you certainly wouldn't be expected to go to all the sessions. So you could just go to whatever looks interesting for you. It's a Tuesday, Wednesday. If you click on the second day, there's a whole other slate of possible. Here we go. Possible different activities going on. So anyway, just thought I'd share that. I think it's a worthwhile thing to check out if you are interested. And that's on the 20th and 21st. So who do we contact? If you email tech@rsu19.net and just say, hey, I'm interested in going to the ACTON Conference, we'll come up with the process of what we need to do to get, I don't know if we do it as a bundle for the entire district or how that will work, but we'll figure that out. All right. So with 2 minutes to spare, I want to thank our students, moderators, and presenters today. They did a great job. If you guys have any questions, absolutely throw them in the chat. This is the time. If not, next week we are going to pick up. I'd like to start, again, focus on other tools that we've been using. The student presenter for next week is going to talk about Flipgrid. If you haven't heard about Flipgrid or know what it's about or want to see what it's all about, that's what we'll be doing next Wednesday. Again, these will all be recorded as it was today. We'll put this right on that same website, the bit.ly/RSU19 support. With that, I hope everyone has a fantastic week, and I will see you next time.